Good Monday morning. Delighted to be with you, talking to you about you and your business. We got a lot to cover on today's show. It's my opinion that it's your business to be keeping up with what's happening in the political and economic, and I always like to say the political economy front, because that has a direct bearing on you and your business. And the reason why it's important to be informed isn't just so that you have content to commiserate, but you develop strategies on really mitigating the constant damaging that government does to you and your business. I've got my good friend Steve Beaman on. He's on every week here on The Price of Business. He's going to be coming here to Houston in a couple of months. We're nailing all that down and excited. I spoke to your cohort, Chris, as we began to work on that, Steve, and we're getting closer to that. Finally, getting you down here, and we're looking forward to that. Steve Beaman is with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education, as am I, and we're working together to change the way people look at government, at business, the economy, etc. Steve, welcome to the program.
Well, good morning, Kevin. As always, it's nice to start off the week with you down in the Houston area. So nice to have your radio listeners with us this morning.
Yep. Before we get started, tell us a little bit about, when you're making that introduction to someone about SAFE. What do you share? What are your thoughts?
Well, we express to people the simple fact that about 75% of Americans admit that they're not taught financial and economic literacy in this country. And because of that, they're not establishing proper business practices. They're not establishing proper retirement practices and proper educational practices, and we want to help people with that.
Yep, no question about it. No question about it. Before we get into looking at what's happening on the news front, tell us what are some of the latest going on for SAFE.
Well, we continue to publish all that we can. In fact, just this last week, we published an information piece for people on how to build and plan for retirement. I am pleased that once again today I'm broadcasting to you from the beautiful studios of Lights on Music Productions. I have a gorgeous view of the Midwestern summer that's coming upon us. So, but we continue, Kevin, to publish. We talk. We help members with things like getting new insurance for a business. We've helped several people decide on how they should, use insurance programs in their retirement. So we just work every single day helping people build a better life.
Yeah, that's right. Steve Beaman Group, now called Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. When I visited with Chris earlier this week, he said that you guys are just a couple of blocks away from Harpo Studios, famous for Oprah Winfrey.
Yes, indeed. We're looking at a major promotional program that we're going to put on in those studios. We're looking at bringing in a lot of movers and shakers from finance and the media to show them the power of the composite program we put together with the best entertainers around, great content, and great enlightenment for people.
Yep, absolutely. We're looking forward to learning more about that as we get closer to it. All right, let's talk a little bit about the news front. I think maybe one of the most interesting things is to see Jay Carney, who is the White House press secretary, that you got to think is at this point is kind of seriously looking at want ads after what he's gone through recently with the way the media is now handling him. They're treating him like the enemy. They have been so gullible and let's get along. But now all of a sudden when the White House goes after them, they've got kind of a new resilience that it's about time.
Well, let's assume that after the trifecta of scandals that's hitting Washington, we're going to see a lot of pink slips floating around. I think Mr. Carney may be one of them. But the key to that is how it affects people. These political scandals get a lot of media. They get a lot of talk from different groups, but the fact of the matter is it hits home when you run a business or you're trying to build a better, prosperous life for your family, and that's the relevance of it to the average American.
Yeah. Press Secretary says he's, quote, enjoyed challenging week at the White House. Of course, he sounded like a Bee Gee when he said that.
Yes, indeed he did. But I think, again, Kevin, you and I follow these things. We know what's going on. We followed the impact that it has been targeting by the IRS to both conservative groups recently and also liberal groups in the earlier part of the century. So we know this goes on. We know that the government itself is overloaded with size and it's mismanaged and it's almost unmanageable. But again, the reality is it does hit people in the Houston area as they look to get real help, and that's what the society is all about.
Okay, and I agree with you. I agree with you entirely on that. It's interesting. It's interesting to see. We were talking about firings. Well, I think you heard that the head of the IRS, he got quote fired, but I also heard he ended up in another government agency. What's up with that?
Well, originally he was slated to retire in June, so it's not really a firing. But truly, Kevin, this is the beginning, I think, of unwinding some real issues in Washington. And as the business owners down in Houston get together and talk about it, they need to look for new solutions. And that's why your program exists. It's why they should be looking at U.S. Daily Review every single day. And it's why they need to become members of the society so we can provide, once again, the help people need to build a better life.
Yeah, but help me out with this. I don't know for sure, but, so it may be just rumor or whatever, but I could have swore I heard that the guy who was ousted, who really wasn't ousted, he just left now with a little bit of acrimony that wasn't originally there, but he actually moved to another agency.
Kevin, you're exactly right, and it's like the woman who was running the IRS program overseeing this is now going to be running the new health care program, the affordable health care stuff within the Internal Revenue. So these people do move around. We see that. We know it. They protect one another, and if you watch the hearings closely, you'll see that Congress is as important protecting their own skin as the administration is. So I think, that, again, the big thing, Kevin, you and I watch this stuff unfold. It sickens us that our country has these issues, and we look for positive solutions to help turn it around.
Yeah, rather interesting to say the least. When we come back, we kind of did some intensity because the scandal is intense. I encourage everyone out there to look at the impeachment papers against Richard Nixon and compare them to the scandals of Barack Obama, and you're going to go, what the heck? How in the world has this guy not been impeached yet? That's what you're going to conclude when you look at that. I encourage everyone, just put in a Google search, Richard Nixon impeachment, articles, and you'll be shocked what you see. It's really mild in comparison to what we've seen with Barack Obama. When we continue, we're going to get more from our friend, the one and only Steve Beaman. You, of course, can learn more about what we're doing together at stevebeaman.org. That's Steve Beaman Group, SteveBeamanGroup.org. More after this on The Price